I've got your energy stories for the fourth week of August 2022. In the first one, electric mobility company Revel, renewables developer 9 Energy, and vehicle-to-grid outfit Fermata Energy announced the first bidirectional vehicle-to-grid V2G program connected to Consolidated Edison's grid in Brooklyn. The system uses 3 Fermata Energy bidirectional chargers to send as much as 45 kilowatts of energy from the EVs to the grid from 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the afternoon during demand peaks. And staying with vehicle-to-grid, Duke Energy had 2 announcements last week. Duke, Florida will launch an R&D V2G pilot with 5 Ford F-150 Lightning pickups to evaluate the interaction of the EV and its bidirectional flows and test how the vehicles interact with customer-owned distributed energy resources such as rooftop solar and customer-sited batteries. It'll also test the ability to power homes during outages and how EVs might support the grid during peaks. Duke Energy Carolinas also filed with the North Carolina regulators for a 2023 pilot to engage up to 100 electric F-150 customers in a subsidized leasing program, offering incentives to customers for participation in a peak demand management V2G program. The goal is to work with Ford to evaluate the functionality and key issues related to V2G integration and determine the potential for future interaction between customer vehicles and the grid. Also in charging news, Electrify America will install over 200 DC fast chargers from 150 kW to 350 kW at 25 Ikea locations in the U.S. between now and the end of next year. With 225 charging stations at 25 shops, each location will have an average of 9 charging points and will serve the public as well as Ikea's own vehicles. Interesting? Yeah. But nothing compared with what battery swap companies in China are up to. NIO's now passed 10 million battery swaps. You drive into the box, the robot unscrews the depleted battery pack and swaps in a new one. 10 million's good. But Aulton, New Energy, has now done a cumulative 30 million battery swaps, representing about 2.7 billion miles of driving, with facilities offering fast battery swaps in 20 seconds and performing up to 1,000 services per location per day. Aulton serves 30 models from 16 different vehicle companies, primarily supporting taxis and ride-sharing companies. And sticking with China but moving to hydrogen, China's Sinopec says it will build the world's largest green hydrogen plant supported by 300 megawatts of solar by June of 2023. The $470 million plant should produce 20,000 tons of green H2 a year at a remarkably low cost of only $2.67 per kilogram, according to Chinese media. Also in the hydrogen game, France's Total Eren is planning to build a 2,000 megawatt solar farm in Australia's Northern Territory, supporting a 1,000 megawatt hydrogen electrolyzer facility yielding 80,000 tons of H2 annually. So maybe Sinopec won't be the biggest for long. In other news, the Biden administration is moving forward with offshore wind in Maine, with the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management seeking public feedback on wind development rights across 13.7 million acres off of Maine's coast. It's also seeking input on Maine's bid for a research lease to test the effect of floating turbines on the state's fishing industry. Maine has a limited continental shelf, so it may have the first floating turbines in the United States. The state wants to develop up to 12 floating turbines, generating as much as 144 megawatts of power, about 20 miles offshore. And finally, on August 17th, Tesla's new California-based virtual power plant had its first emergency response event. Tesla contacted customers ahead of time, giving them the option to opt out. In sum, it appears 2,342 Powerwalls in the Pacific Gas and Electric network and 268 units in the Southern California Edison network participated, yielding up to 16 megawatts and 1.5 megawatts of power, respectively, and earning customers $2 per kilowatt hour. VPP's virtual power plants are just getting started. They'll be worth watching in the years to come. Well, thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next week.